Okay. So, well, guys, this is our fourth lesson, and today we are going to study some new information about how to make syllable and how to read some Korean words and syllables. Well, by the way, we have to study what is Pachim, so today we are studying all this new information. It's really interesting information, and we will begin with the syllable. What is it and how to read it? So, in Korean language, syllables, a syllable, one syllable, is part of word. Any word can consist of 1, 2, 3, 4 syllables. It doesn't matter. So one syllable may consist 1, 2, 3 or 4 letters. 4 is maximum. One syllable, only one syllable, I mean vowel or diphthong maybe like a syllable. If we are talking about consonant sounds, it's not a syllable, it's just a letter, consonant doesn't give us like a syllable, it doesn't form a syllable, it's just a consonant. So a syllable, there are some examples of the syllables. So u or we, it's one vowel u, and one vowel, one diphthong, it's we. U, we. U is a syllable and we also is a syllable. It's a syllable that consists of one letter. The next one example, it's u plus riul, ul. It's also one syllable, but there are two letters. It's combination of vowel, one vowel, and one consonant sound. Right. So we can't just put real and then put u. If we make it like that, I'll give you an example. If you write le and then we put u, so it's also one syllable. It consists of two letters, r, plus u, ru. But if we want to write down two different syllables, we can write it in this way. But r is a consonant, and the consonant doesn't form no syllables. So there is the rule that if you write down one consonant, it will be just a letter, not syllable. But if you write one vowel or diphthong, by the way, then it's a syllable. That is why u and we, they're syllables, two syllables, or two different syllables, u, and separate we. And in this way, l and u doesn't form like one syllable. It's just a consonant sound. Real, l, plus vowel and one syllable u. So, okay, what else? There are also some combinations from three letters. It's also one syllable, for example, k plus ya plus l. It forms kel. Kel. K, ya, l. In this way, we read l sound, real. It's the name of the letter, so real is in Pachim. What is Pachim? We will talk about that. I'll give you some information about that. So it's like if you have a house, for example, you have some floors. like first floor, second floor, third floor, and so on. But in this way, imagine that kel, it's one syllable, and the syllable has two floors. Kya is the second floor, and l is the first floor. So all the letters in Pachim, they're always in the first floor, you know. So ul is the same situation. L is like on the first floor, so it's in Pachim. And kal l is again in Pachim. Kalg, here there are two letters in Pachim, and they are also on the first floor. So we are talking about syllables, and there is the last one example. It consists one syllable. It consists of 4 letters. We never don't have 5 or more letters in one syllable. There might be 1, 2, 3, or 4 letters. So this example, it's maximum amount of letters in one syllable. So k plus ya plus l, k. So we have kalk. We read it from the left to the right. K, ya. Then we go down to the bottom, and we read again from the left to the right. L and k. So we have one syllable, kalk. Okay, you maybe thought about that syllable always have like rotation, vowels and consonants. So here it is u plus l, vowel and consonant. Kel, it's again consonant plus vowel plus consonant. And here it's consonant plus vowel plus 2 consonants. 2 consonants might be only in Pachim. So it's double Pachim. We will talk about it. We will talk about how to read them on the next lesson. So there is no such situation in one syllable that you have combination of 2 consonants. Okay, for example, in English, you may see WN, for example, in the word down, or right, there's W plus R, so there are 2 consonants. In Ukrainian, there's the same. We have a lot of words where there are some consonants, 3 or 2 consonants. But in Korean, it's possible only if we're talking about Pachim. So in Pachim, in double Pachim, there might be, not always, but it might be 2 consonant letters, but usually we have like rotation of vowels, or not only vowels, but also diphthongs and consonant sounds. So there are some examples. If we have rotation of consonant and vowel, for example, ka, pa, ma, na, kan, hana, and so on. And vowel plus consonant, there also might be al, yam, ab, and so on. Okay, let's talk about syllables again. Well, we read all the words in syllables. What does that mean? That means that first we read one syllable, and then after that we read the next syllable. So we first read u, one syllable, one vowel, it's u, and then we go and we read the next one, we read u. We don't read it like, in this case, we cannot read it any other way, but for example, if we had not uyu, but for example, what might it be? Cup, mu, for example. So we have such a syllable. So usually we read like in the road, we read this, and we go down and we read the bottom. It's this. We don't read like WSEYRL, like in this case. We read it like the word by the word, and we read letter by letter. So in Korean there is a little bit another situation. We don't read it like this, m. We read by syllables or in syllables. So we read just cup, and then after we read this syllable, we read the next one. We read mu. So we have cup, mu. Here we have u and then u. Here we have talk and then e. So here it's not ma, a, lim. We have ma, lim, and then we read the next one syllable and it's r. So we have the word malma. It's the word from 2 syllables. There is the position. How do we read it? How do we pronounce it? So we have first to read ta, the second floor, then the first floor, liku. So we have one syllable that consists of 4 letters. Tu, a, l, gu. Tu, a, l, gu. And then we have the next one syllable. It's the second syllable in this word, and we have it like e. So if we read it together, it's talki. Talk plus e. And together we read it like talki, malma, m, a, l, m. And after that, only after we read all these syllables, we are going to the next one. So we read a, malma. Okay, let's move on. Well, what is pachim? We have already talked about that. So pachim, it's 1 or 2 consonants in the bottom of the syllable. It's like, for example, tu. In the word pachim, we have 2 pachims. Pat, it's tu in pachim and mu in pachim. Tu, mu. There are 2 syllables and 2 pachims. But we have 1 or 2 consonants, or pachim may be absent in the syllable, so it's 0 pachim, or we just can say that there is no pachim. For example, in the syllable kal, we have l letter in pachim. In the syllable ulp, we have lup in pachim, and in the word, and not only in the word but also in the one syllable cho, there's no pachim, so it's 0 pachim, because there is no, like it's here, it's the second floor and the first floor. In the word or in the syllable cho, there is only 1 floor, cho, 2 letters and no pachim. Why do we study pachim? What is it? Because it's necessary for our further rules. We will talk about pachim, and you have to know what is it. So, okay, before we start some reading rules, I'll tell you them, and we have to remind that like this, what is it like? Letter. This letter, like a consonant letter, and we read it n, g, or n. You remember n? We read it like this. So it's always located in pachim. This vowel, not vowel, but consonant, is always letter. Sorry about that. Sorry. Letter. So this letter is read ng, only in pachim. Okay, let's read some examples. Kang, in pachim. Pang, the same. And g is in pachim. Pang. Tange, Again, 니은 is in 받침. 정답, 정, it's again in 받침. If we see this sign, not like a consonant letter but sign, in this case, this like circle, it may be located near vowels or diphthongs. And in this case, we don't read this sign. We don't read like the circle. For example, here it's all, the syllable all, and we don't read this like a consonant letter because it's not in 받침, so it's just the sign. Here we read it like and T sound because it's in 받침 and it's letter, it's consonant letter in these cases. But here we see that it's just a circle, and the circle and it's the sign, only the sign, no more. So we read O, just O vowel, and then we read L in 받침. So we have all syllable. Here is the same, 의 is a circle, we don't read it. We read only vowel, sound. Yeah, it's just the vowel, one vowel, and it's one syllable here. Yeah, here it's u. Again, one syllable and one vowel sound. 울, where one diphthong and one vowel sound, so we don't read this sign. We just write it down before it's necessary for us to show that there is a vowel or there is a diphthong. So it's just a sign. But if you write, for example, not ul, like here, but for example, in this case, this circle is just a sign. Here, this circle is just a sign. Here we have U vowel, and on the bottom we have sound. So this circle is consonant letter NG because it's in 받침. It's located in 받침. But this circle is just a sign, so we don't have to read it. So we have if I write the transcription, it's like something like this. Okay, we have to move on, and now you may stop this video and try to read all these words, all these syllables, and then you can continue and we can read them together. The first word is 직업. I've written the transcription G, and we have K. This consonant is moving to the next syllable, and we read it like read, and we cannot write it, but if it's a transcription, we can write and read it like 그, 직업. So it's the transcription, we don't write it down in the words or in the sentences. So it's 직업, 직업. 그 is just like moving up to O. So we have 직업. I don't read it like 직 and then op. They're not separate syllables. They're like located in one word. So it's one word, and we have to read it like together. 직업, 직업. So the next one is 구름, 구름, 구름. The third one is a little bit easier. It's 나라, 나라. The first one is 엄마, 엄마. Together it's 엄마. 사장. The next one is 사장, 사장. Here we see the circle, it's in 받침, right? So we read it like ng. 사장. 사장. But here it's 엄마. We read only the vowel, not circle. But we have to read it because we begin our syllable, and we have to show that the first letter is vowel. So 엄마, but 사장, 사장, sound. The next one is 누나, 누나. Here it's 언니, 언니. The next one is 책상, 책상. Check, it's easy, but 상, 상. Again, this circle, it's in 받침, so we have to read it, and we have 상, 상. I don't read it like 산, 산, not 산, but 상, 상, sound. So we have 책상. The next one is again with a circle, but in this case, circle is not in 받침, so we don't read it. We read only vowel sound a. So we have the word 아빠, 아빠. 사회, 사회, 회. Diphthong 회 plus h. So we read it 사회, 사회. I didn't make an accent on the consonant h, so it's not hue or something like that. It's like softly hue, hue, softly and short. 사회, 회. But I didn't say he or hoe or hue. I say hue, hue. And the next one is 오늘, 오늘. And the last one in this row, not row, but let it be row. So it's 모래, 모래, 모. We circle with our lips when we say o. It's mo, m plus o, mo, and then re, riul plus e, re, 모래. And the next one is 성별, 성, 성별, 별, b, 요, l. So we have 성별. The next one is 메뉴판. Menu is the same like in English menu. So 판 is like the desk. So 메뉴판, 메뉴판. The third one is 인구, 인구. 인구 is about population. 마늘, 마늘. The next one is 질병, 질편, 병, 편, p, 여, sound. 병, 질병. Here it's 터키, 터, t, breath. Don't forget about the breathing. So it's 터 and 끼 sound. It's short. 끼, 터키. Here it's almost the same, but we read it in the other way. It's 터, not 토, but 터, and then not 끼, but 키 with breathing. 터키, 터키, it's about Turkey, the country name. And 토끼, 토끼, it's about rabbit, not rabbit. I forget an animals in English. Big rabbit. Sorry, I don't use this word so often. Of course, it's here. It's a rabbit. big rabbit, you know. Okay, here maybe. So they're different, these two words. And the next one is 야구, 야구, 도구, 도구. You see that there is a different meaning, different pronunciation of these words because we have 도, 터, 끼, 키, and the words are also different. 토끼 and 터키, 터키. So here it's the same. 보 and 너, 너무, 너무, and 도구, 도구. And there are also two words. 그저께, don't forget about sound. We have to like smile. 그저께, 그저께, 그저께. And the last one is 시장, 시장. What sh sound? I'll tell you today. So we have the last one, 시장. And now we're going to basic reading rules. We have some different rules. There are, if I'm not mistaken, 6 rules, 7 rules. Okay. So the first one is the easiest. It's the rule about the letter H is not pronounced in Pachim. So if you read H in Pachim and if you see H in Pachim, you don't have to read it. Usually Koreans read this H in order to differentiate these words. For example, if I say 사다, if I read and write it in this way with H in Pachim, and if I read and write, for example, 사다 without H in Pachim, so there are two different words. 사다, like this, 사다 without H in Pachim. This means like cheap, you know, that cost not so much, cheap. And 사다, 사다 with H, we read them like similar, but we have to read, not read, but write this H in Pachim, because 사다, it's like when you put something on something other. So we don't read this H, but we have to write it down. Okay, so the first one, our rule is about not to pronounce H in Pachim. So we have 사다, 좋아, 좋아, 즈, or we don't read H and then we read A, 좋아. And the last one example is 많이. We don't read this H, we read just 만 plus E. So we have to read it like 많이. 사다, 좋아, 많이. That was easy. So the second rule is about 리을. When we study this letter, when we had studied this letter, I told you that we will study how to pronounce it. So today we are going to differentiate where do we read it right, like R, and in which cases we have to read it like L. So we read it like R sound, consonant sound R. In that cases, only one case, when there is a vowel or diphthong after it. For example, 걸어, 길어요, 들어, 쓰레기, 개구리, 고라니. So let's Look through these examples. 걸어, it's R sound and O. O, it's a vowel after R. So we have to read R like R, not L. No, we don't read it like Lo or something like that. We read always R if there is a vowel or diphthong after R. So 걸어, here is the same. 길어, 길어요. Here it's R plus O again, so we read it like 들어, 들어, R, O. R plus O, read 러, 들어, 쓰레기. Here it's R plus E. E, it's also about the vowel, so we read it like 쓰레기, re, 쓰레기. Here it's the same, it's R plus E, R plus vowel, so we read it like 개구리, 개구리. And here it's R again plus vowel sound A. So we have 호랑이, 호랑, 랑, Here it's consonant circle, it's sound, consonant But here it's just a sign, it's just a circle, we don't read it. Instead we read vowel sound E. So we have 호랑이, 호랑이, 호랑이. Okay, in this case, we read this letter like R, but in all other cases, we read it like L. It might be at the end of a syllable, we read it like L. 말, 날, 발, 꿀, 귤, 물, and so on. So in all these cases, we have this consonant letter at the end of a syllable. 말, the end. 날, the end of a syllable. 발, 꿀, 귤, 물. They're all cases where 를 is at the end of the syllable. So we read it like 르. 말, 날, 발, 꿀, 귤, 물. And also, if there is a consonant after 를, so we read it like 르 again. 몰다, 몰. We read here 르, not 르, because there is a consonant after 르 sound. So we have 몰다, 알다. Again, because there is 두 sound, 두 is about consonant. 열다, the same. 걸다, the same. 발돋, again. And 날짜, here it's not 두 sound, but 즈. 즈 is also consonant sound. So we read 날, 르, because there is 즈 consonant sound after it. Again, I'll repeat. 멀다, 알다, 열다, 걸다, 발돋, 날짜. Here I read 발돋, the sound. I'll explain you. It's also reading rule, and we will study it a little bit later today, but later. So it's not mistake. It's 발돋, not s, but th. I'll explain you why. And now we're talking about 룰. So there is the last rule about 룰. In the rule, when we meet two letters L in a row, like here, L. Mistake, here's a mistake. Close. This. So in all these cases, we have two L or R in a row, and it's this way. We read it like double L. So like this, L, long L. 골라요, 골라요. 틀리면, 틀리면. 들려주다. 알려줘. Again, 걸려요, 틀리면 들려주다. And the last one is 알려줘. So let's summarize this. We have 4 rules for R or L. The main rule is the rule about R sound. We read these words, this consonant word R, L, like R. In that case, there is a vowel or diphthong sound after R, L. In this case, we read it like R. In all 3 other cases, if there is a consonant, if there are 2 L in a row, or if this is the end of the syllable, in all these cases, we read it like L. Here it's L. Here it's also L. And here we have double L. But we have only one rule, and I'd rather to study this rule, and then in all other cases you may read it like L. If you know the rule about where to read it like R, in all other cases you may read it like L or double L if there are 2 L consonants in a row. Okay, the third rule, we have already studied this rule, but I'll remind you. This is the rule about the diphthong 의. We read this diphthong 의 at the beginning of a word like 의. You know, 의사, 의자, 의견, 의무, and so on. So, if it's the beginning of a word, we read it like 의. 의 plus 이. So we read it like 의사, 의자, 의견, 의무, 의. The next one, it's about 의 in the middle of a word or at the end of a word also, but if it's a part of the word itself. So in these cases, we read it like 이, 주의, 주 plus 이. Okay, 주의, it's about your attention. It's the translation of this word. But if I just move it out, the end in this 의, so 주, it's about week. 주 is translated like week. So I cannot separate them. I cannot just borrow 의 without changing the meaning of the word. So, 주의, it's one word, and here, 의, diphthong, is like a part of this word. So, 주의가 강의실, 고의, 문의, 회의가 니다, 히다. Here, it's like not the middle of the word or the beginning of the word. It's like in the middle, probably. So in this case, if you see that it's not like 의 sound, but here is also some consonant. So in this case, you have to read 의 like 이. So if you see 의 sound like 의 diphthong at the beginning of the word, so you have to read it like 의. But if there is any other consonant sound, like here, ni, n plus 의, so you have to read it like 이. And here it's the same. If you see consonant vowel, consonant sound n and plus diphthong 의, so in this case you also read it like 이. So we have 문의 and 니다, 히다, and any other consonant. So let's read them again. 주의가 강의, 간실, 고의, 문의, 회의가, 니다, 히다. And the last one rule here, it's about the diphthong at the end of a word, but not like the part of the word like in the second rule, like here, but it's not being the part of the word, but acting as grammatical ending. What does that mean? In this case, if you see the diphthong I, but at the end of a word, so if it's a grammatical ending, so in this case we read them like 의자에, 의사에, 엄마에, 학생에, 학교에, 미샤에, and so on. Why do we read them in this case like because, well, for example, this example, 엄마에. 엄마 means mom, our mom, my mom, your mom, and so other moms. 엄마 is mom. E means like this in English. I don't know how to say that. That there is something for example, we have like a book, you know? Whose book is this? This is my mom's book. So I say mom's. So that means that there is my mom's book. In Korean, this role like S means 엄마의. This 에 ending is grammatically the same like in English, like S. This S means like something is belonging to someone, you know. Or for example, 학생, it's about student. And if I say 학생의, for example, something like book, check. So I say 학생의 책. It's about the book. Book belongs to who? It belongs to 학생, to student. So this is about like to translate it like students book. So this is the same like students, like this role. It's grammatically the same meaning. 학교, it's a school. 학교에, for example, 의자. There are schools, chairs. Schools, chairs, and so on. There are also many other examples. Or, for example, my name is Daria. And if I say, for example, in Korean, Daria's, Daria의, for example, what? Pen, ball pen. In Korean, it's Daria의 pen or Daria의 ball pen. So I read it like 다리아에. I read it like 에. 의자에, 의사에, 엄마의, 학생의, 학교에, and so on. We can put the sending in to anyone or anything, whatever we need. So this means Daria's, like this, pen. So, what is neighbor? Neighbor dictionary. It's a dictionary where you can translate all the necessary words. You can download it via Android and via your iPhone. so it's for free, and here you can find any explanation or using of the phrase or using this word in any phrase. So this is a translation translator of your words that you need. Okay, so we are moving on, and the next one rule, it's about these letters. It's about t, s, s, d, d, t, t, and h. These letters in Pachim are read a little bit different as usual. So in Pachim, if you see that these letters are in Pachim and after them there is nothing, so they are at the end of a syllable. In this case, you read them t. If you remember here, paldot, I've told you that in this case we don't read it like s. Even though it's a letter s, we read it like t, paldot. Why? Because it's the end of a syllable and we read it like t. Why? Because of this rule. There is a s in Pachim and after that there is nothing. So it's the end of a syllable. In this case we read it like t. So we have kot. We see that this ch letter, but we read it like t. So we have kot, kot, ot. Again, s at the end of a syllable. There is nothing after that, and we read it like ot, meat. He, ut. You see hu at the Pachim, and there is nothing after that. He, ut. Here it's tat, not, again, s and d, both of them, s, d, we read at Pachim like t, if there is the ending of the syllable. Sat, mat, and so on. But in the case, if you see that after these letters, there is a vowel after them, so you read them like you write them. For example, if there is ch in Pachim Bad, then it's a vowel sound or diphthong. For example, in this case, we read ch like ch. So we have 조차요, 조차요, ch, 조, 조차요, 밑에, 트. Here it's j, 맞아요. Even though we read it like naj, not naj, but not, because it's the end of the word, the end of the syllable. So here we read it like t, not, but here we read it like j, because there is the vowel after that. So it's j plus the vowel sound a. It's not the end of the syllable, so we read it like 맞아, 맞아요, 나사요. But there is one exception. This exception is h sound. H, if we see h, that doesn't matter for us whether it's a vowel after that or whether it's the end of the syllable. In any case, in all the cases we don't pronounce it. So here we can read it like 좋아, 좋아, or 나 without h, 나아. The only one situation where we read h is the beginning of the syllable, like here, he, ut, right? He. And if there is nothing after that, so if there is the end of the syllable, so in this case we read it not like h, but we read it t. So that is why we read it like sat, and here we read it like he, ut. But if there is a vowel or consonant after h, we don't read h. You remember? There were this rule. The first one, the letter h is not pronounced in Pachim. Sa, ta, chua, mani. This is the same situation. And in this case, wherever there is a vowel or consonant, we don't read them in any case. So we have such an exception. And, well, not about h, but if there is a consonant after all these letters without h, in these cases we read them again like t. So if there is the end of the syllable, so there is nothing after these letters, or here in both of these cases we read them like t. Itta, t, it, ta, not ta. Here it's the same, not ta, mat ta, mat ta, tot sip. There is a transcription, by the way. Tot, we see and we write them down like ch, j, t, s, j, double s, but in all these cases we read them like t. Why? Because there is a consonant after them. T, 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 s. So in all those cases we see these letters and we have to read them if there is a consonant after them like t, itta, natta, natta, matta, matta, totsip. But we don't pronounce these like t. If there is again our exception h, so we have chotta, sata, natta, again without the letter h, without h. Chota, sada, nata. So, okay, there is one notion. In order, like, not notion, but even more like secret. If you want to sound like the native speaker, like Korean native speaker, so there is one secret. These letters k, k, t, p, at the end of a word or at the end of a syllable, these consonants are devoiced. So what should we do? When you pronounce these like syllables and words, you have to shut your mouth when you pronounce these letters k, k, t, p. So we don't say like suck. Instead, we say suck. I shut my mouth in order to eat this consonant. Okay, here it's mat. I don't say mat, I say mat. And here is the same. I don't say pop, I don't say pop, I say pop. This last consonant is like eaten. The voice, it's divorced. Why it's divorced? Because the voice doesn't go out of my mouth, it's divorced in my mouth. So it's like to eat this sound. It's pop. I shut my lips, shut my mouth, and it's like pop, mop. What else? Tuck, tuck. I don't say suck, knock, duck, pop, mat. I say instead suck, knock, tuck, pop, mat. So all the last syllables, not syllables but consonants, here all letters in Pachim, they are all devoiced. Again, suck, suck, The next one is knock. The third one is tuck, 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 pop, pop, and the last one is mud, mud. So I don't I don't say sa, na, ta. So they're not like borrowed, not borrowed. I have to check it. Kicked out, maybe. So they're not kicked out of the word. So I pronounce them, but they're devoiced. So in this case, it's not like the rule, but it's like a kind of recommendation or an advice. So if you want to be accepted like the native speaker, so you'd rather to read them all these letters at the end of the word or at the end of the syllable. You have to read them devoiced. Okay, the next one rule is where are you? Okay, the next one rule is about the letter S and double S. In this case, if there are E, ya, U, V, U sounds, if these vowels are followed by their S or double S, in this case we read them like sh plus ch, like sh. So it's she, not C or she, yeah, right. Like she, if we're talking about someone, some girl, it's similar to in pronunciation, like she, but it's more like this example. In this case, it's s plus e, and we read it like shu, so we have to read it like she. And in this case, we read it more like shortly, short. So it's she. Here it's ya, so we have to read it like sha. And here it's sha, short, sha. Here it's s plus u. We don't read it like shu. We read it like shu. And here it's double s plus u, and we read it like shu. Here it's s plus diphthong we. We have one diphthong in this rule, I, ya, you, we, yo, you. One diphthong we. So we have to read it like she. S plus we. We don't read sui, we read shui. And double s plus diphthong we, and we read it like shui. And here are two variants with yo. Sure, maybe you remember that we read this variant of yo with almost closed. Our mouth is almost closed. It's all our lips and everything here. It's relaxed, and we read it like yo. And here is the opposite variant of yo. We have to make this circle with our lips, and we have to say yo. Oh, sorry. So we read it like sure. Again, lips are relaxed. And sure, circle with our lips. And here is the same, but with double s. So it's sh. And here it's sure. And let's look through some words. It's 오시, s plus e. If they meet, so it's like the combination of s or double s plus e, ya, you, we, yo. So it's such an example. 오시, s plus e, 시, 오시. Here is the same. 시, 신발. Here it's she again. 식구, double K, 식구. Here it's s plus ya, shower. You know what is it? 샤워하다. It's like shower in English, and it's borrowed word. It's shower. Here it's 쉬원. 마셔서. Sure, it's like in these rules. Sure, s plus 여, sure. But here it's s plus or, and it's not like in our rules. So it's like so, s or. But here it's like in our rule. So it's ma, sure, but so. S or but sure. 마셔서. Here it's shopping. Shopping, it's also borrowed word, like shopping. And shampoo, and it's also borrowed word, shampoo, like shampoo. And the last one is 쉬다. So plus different we, and we have 쉬다. And let's read them again. 옷이, 신발, 식구, 샤워, 쉬원, 마셔서, shopping, shampoo, and the last one, 쉬다. Okay. There are two rules, the 6th and the 7th, and it's the rule about l, m, n, and n. r, m, n, sounds, and if we see the letter h after them, in this case the letter h is not pronounced. Okay, for example, you see m, n, l. In these cases, you see 전, and then it's h sound. If you see such a combination, you don't have to read h. So we have to read it like in a transcription. It's 전화. You see n here in Pachim, but when you read this word, or when you write down the transcription, in such case you may like move this n to the next syllable, to wa, instead of h. So you can read it like 전화. So you don't read it like 전화, but you read it without h, like 전화. The same is here in the word 번호. You don't read h because there is n here in Pachim, and after the letters l, m, n, n, the letter h is not pronounced. And here is such a situation. So it's n, and after that it's h sound. So we don't read h. We write it down, but we don't read it. So it's 번호. N is also moving to the next syllable, to o. So we put n instead of h in this syllable, but only in our transcription. We don't read it, we don't write it like here. It's only the transcription. So such a variant of writing down, it's not like mistake, but it's a transcription. We don't use it in all our what, in our sentences or something like that. Okay. We will talk about l sound a little bit later. And here is an example with, again, noon plus h. Here it's the same. 안녕히, an, 녕, and then it's h after noon. We see their rule, and we see the transcription. 안녕히, 안녕 plus e. So it's moving, this noon sound is moving to e, and we read it like n, usual n. 안녕히, 안녕히. Here is the same, but here is m sound. 열심히, 심. There are two rules. sh sound is because we see s plus e, and we see it's not she, it's she, like here. So we read it like 열시, and then m is moving instead of h. 열심히. 은행 is the same situation with n. N is instead of h sound, so we read it like 은행, without h. 가만히, 가네요. There are the same situations. 가만, and n is moving instead of h sound, so we see and we read it like 가만히. Here is the same. We read n instead of h in the second syllable, so it's 가네요. But what about the 을 sound? Usually when you see l and then h sound, in these cases we usually see two rules. What are these rules? First one rule, it's about l is standing instead of h. So we kicked out our h letter, so it's like this situation. We see 말 and then ada without h. 말, ada. But we have another rule. We remember that the letter l, if there is a vowel after it, we read like r. So we don't read it like 말하다. We read it like 말하다. So there are two rules. h is kicked out, and then l plus vowel sound a diphthong, we read like r. So we have in conclusion 말하다. So this word is read like 말하다. Here is the same. 일하다. Why 일하다? Because we have 일 plus ada, and then l is plus a, and we have 일하다. r again sound ada. 일하다. 가래요. Again, 갈 plus 에요. E is vowel sound. l plus vowel sound e give us like re. So we have 가래요. Here is the same. 나래, 가래, l plus diphthong is the same. Where diphthong? So we have 가래. But we don't emphasize like where. We say like where softly, and we put r at the beginning. So we have the syllable re, not rwe. It's softly. It's re, kare. So Koreans are not pronounce it each like syllable differentiately. They pronounce it like the one word, so we have to read them also like Koreans, and we read it like the word, not all their syllables separately. So it's kare, not kare. It's kare. The same is here. We don't read it by syllables. An, 년, 이, or 열심히. We read it like 열심히, 안연히, kare, 나래, 말하다, 일하다. What else? 가래요, one word. But it consists of the syllables, so we have to know how to read them, and we have to know all these rules. Okay, and the last one, our rule, it's about k, d, p. These letters between two vowels or between two diphthongs are read like g, d, b. Not k, t, p, but g, d, b. Only between two vowels or diphthongs, or between vowel and diphthong. Okay, we have such an examples. 비가, 가게, 바다, 가다, 가방, 가볍다, bibimbap, and so on. Let's look through all of them. 비가, we see E and A, two vowels. G is in the middle of them. So in this case, we read P, ga, g. G sound, not G, but G. Don't forget about that. So we have to read them like 비가. Here is the same situation. 가게. It's A and E, two vowels, and we read G in the middle of them because there is in the middle of two vowels, It's 가게. Here is the same, but D sound. It's between two A. Sound 바다, d, 바다. It doesn't matter how do we pronounce the first one letter, because there is no rules how to pronounce these letters at the beginning of the word or at the beginning of the syllable. But there is a rule that between two vowels or between two diphthongs or between the vowel and diphthong, we read these letters like g, d, and b. So that is why we read these words in this way. So it's 비가, 가게, 바다, 가다, the same da. We read da because there is two a. 가방, b, because there is in the middle of two vowels. 가방, 가볍다. 가볍다, there are two p sounds. And here is a and 요, two vowels, so we read 가벼, 가벼. But p sound in 받침 is in the middle of vowel and consonant. T is consonant, so we read 가벼, 가벼, but pta, pta, p. We read here like p, not b, not b sound. So it is 가볍다, 가볍, b, 옆, b, but p in 받침. 가볍다, 비빔밥. We see b, bim, because b sound is in the middle of two vowels e. So this is bim, and here it's pop, p, a, p. Why? Because there is no vowels. Not no vowels, but one vowel and one consonant, m and a. And this p is in the middle of not two vowels, but one vowel and one consonant. That is why we read this word like bibimbap, p, a, p, pap, bibimbap. The next one is 가구. Here it's 그 sound, but to read it in the middle of two vowels like 그, 가구, 가격, 요금, the same. 여보세요, 여보. You know this word is like hello on the phone. We say 여보세요. And here it's 뭐, 여보. We don't say 여보세요 or something like that because there is a rule that between two vowels, 요 and 어, we read this consonant bu like bu, 여보, 여보세요. So we have such an examples. 비가, 가게, 바다, 가다, 가방, 가볍다, 비빔밥, 가구, 가격, 여보세요. And let's get some practice. You can also make the pause. You can stop this video, and then after your training, you can move on with me. I'll read all these words for practice, and you can follow me. Okay, the first one is 아래. I have to check one word. It's important. You know this word is accent or stress. Stress, not like stress that you get every day, but stress in the word. Stress in all the words in Korean is for the last syllable. So that doesn't matter how many syllables there are in the word, but the stress is always on the last syllable. For example, 아래. The stress is for re. Okay, for example, 취하다. The stress is on 하다, da syllable. 밀가루. The stress is on 루. So we don't say, for example, in the word 계시다, we don't say the stress on 게. 계시다. Instead we say 계시다 for da. 낚시. 심각하다. 문의. 안녕히 계세요 for yo. Or for example, I don't know, maybe this one, 흡연, 연, or 비빔밥, 밥, 골고루, 루, and so on. So we always, this is like not written rule, but this is important notion that we have to put our stress in the word for the last syllable. It's important. Okay, let's practice. 아래. You know, 아래, not 아. I don't say 아래. I say 아래. 아래. Here is the same. 노래. 노래. For the stress is for re. The last syllable. 아래. 노래. 쉬다. 쉬다. 말하다. 말하다. But why 말하다? We say because we don't read hu sound, and we combine li plus a. A is vowel, so we read this word like 말하다. No, all these rules we will meet here. 말하다. Okay, 허리. 허리, 회의, 회의, 계시다, 계시다, 낚시, 낚시, 뜻, 스 in 받침. At the end of the syllable is 트, is read like 트. So we have 뜻, 뜻, 솥, 닷, 달리기, 달리기, 샤워하다, 샤워하다, 쌀, 쌀, 살국수, 살국수, 심각하다, 심각하다. 노랗다, 노랗다. I don't read h. I don't say 노랗다. Instead, I say 노랗다. Here is the same. 감았다 without h. 감았다. 은행. Here is the same without h because if n is following by h, so we don't read h. We say 은행, 은행, 은행. 갈아요, 갈아요. 안녕히 계세요. 안녕히 without h, 안녕히 계세요. 계세요. So here is 문의, 문의. 의무, 의무. 엄마의, 엄마 is mom, and 엄마의, here is grammatical aspect, so 엄마의. 가네요, 가네요. 온열, 온열. N and h, we don't read h. So 온열. 11시, 11시. 간이가, 간이가. 의심, 의심. 고기, 고기. 비빔밥, 비빔밥. 골고루, 골고루. 비다, 비다. 과제, 과제. 밀가루, 밀가루. 그립다, 그립다. 문의, it's the same. 문의. 시읒, 시읒. 놀아요, 놀아요. 눌러요. Double S, oh sorry, not S but L. We read like double L, so it's L. 눌러요, 눌러요. 취하다, 취하다. 줬다, 줬다. 입다, 입다. 흡연, 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 흡연. 맛있다. Here it's S plus E. We have the rule sh. 맛이. And here it's double S in 받침 before consonant. In this case, we read it like 드. Now there is the word, the rule, sorry, not the word, but rule. And here is about, there is a consonant. In that case, we read these letters like 드. And here is an example. 맛있다. S in 받침, double S in 받침 before the consonant 드. So we read it like 드. 맛이. But here, this we read like 드. So 맛있다. 맛있다. 색깔이, 색깔이. 높다, 높다. 샵을, 샵을. 리을, 리을. 심해요. Without who, we read it like 심해, 심해요. And the last one is 조심해. 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 같아, 같다. 가네요. Also without who. So it's 가네요, 가네요. 손 잡다, 손 잡다. 구경합니다, 구경합니다. There is a rule about p and n. It's a simulation of two consonants. We will study this in the next lesson. So we have to read it like 문. I'll tell you why, but now we have to read it like 구겨나, 구겨나, without h. We know this rule, so it's Let's just make it like simpler, more rather easy, so it's not without simulation. Not simulation, but assimilation maybe. And it's just 구경하다. So here we don't read who because there is yun. And we know the rule about this case. So after these letters, l, m, n, the letter h is not pronounced. Here is such a situation. 구경, and then we don't read who, so it's 구경하다. And the last one word is 열심히. Okay. And the last one, our activity, it's about new phrases. There are some new phrases and there are some like transcription of them. Transcription is in Korean in order you to pronounce them correctly. So all these phrases, not in all of them, but in many of them, there is a rule about the assimilation. So, for example, like here, 무엇입니까? We read 푸 and 느 like 무. It's about the situation I'll tell you in the next lesson. There is the rule that 푸 plus 느, this combination we read like 무. So it's not mistake when you see and when you write down like here 씁니다, you write 푸 and 느, but you read them like 무, because there is such a rule. So let's look through all these phrases. The first one phrase is when we say hello or something like that. It's formal, it's polite form, polite variant. We say 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. It's like the pronunciation, and this is how do we write it. So it's 안녕하세요. We can it's formal, it's like historically right form, so we can just put like the emphasis sign like this, or just point. So we just say 안녕하세요. We read it without who, you know why? According to the rule. So it's 안녕하세요. We say when we meet someone who is older or with whom we are talking in formal way. So we say 안녕하세요. And usually you have to like how to say that? Bow yourself, maybe. So usually we say 안녕하세요, and you like bow your body, bow your head. It's 안녕하세요 in this case. And now you can also say 안녕하세요, like this variant. If you say like hello, good afternoon, or something like that. So it's the phrase to meet or greet someone. 안녕하세요. The next one phrase is what's your name? We say 이름이 무엇입니까? 이름이 무엇? Then it's s plus e, so we say 시 무엇입니까? 이름이 무엇입니까? So what's your name? And you have to say 저는. You put here your name, and then you say 입니다. I'll remind you that pu plus nu in all these cases we read like mun. So it's 저는, for example, if it's me, if it's about me. So I'll tell you 저는 다리아입니다. Or you may say 저는 마리아입니다. 저는 닉입니다. Something like that. So you have to put your name here. Name or surname if it's necessary. So 저는 입니다. 이름이 무엇입니까? 저는 다리입니다. 이름이 무엇입니까? 저는 니키입니다. And so on. And then usually after these phrases you say nice to meet you. And it's the phrase 만나서 반갑습니다. 만나서 반갑습니다. 반갑습니다. You have to put your stress into their last syllable. So it's 만나서 반갑습니다. 다. You emphasize so and 다. Here is the same. 저는 다혜입니다. 이름이 무엇입니까? 안녕하세요. Here is the same. Okay, 만나서 반갑습니다. Nice to meet you. And you have to answer 저도 반갑습니다. Or you may say just 반갑습니다. 반갑습니다. 습니다. Oh, it's a mistake. 습니다. 습니다. Okay. Well, okay, you say, for example, you have met someone for the first time and you say, 이름이 무엇입니까? What's your name? The person tell you that 저는, for example, I don't know, 저는 민수입니다. And you say, 만나서 반갑습니다. And this person tell you that 반갑습니다. Or 저도 반갑습니다. 저, it's about me. 도 means too. So, me too. 저도 반갑습니다. And when you have to go somewhere, and you have to say goodbye. And in this case, there are two variants. There are two variants because there is a variant for people who stays and for people who leaves. So we say 안녕히 가세요. 안녕히 without h, because there is plus h, so we kick out the h letter. So it's 안녕히 가세요. 안녕히 가세요. It means goodbye. And it's used to greet the person if he or she stays in that place. For example, you're in, school or in library, and you're staying, and the person is gone, is leaving into any other place. So you're staying, and you say to the person who is gone, you say, 안녕히 가세요. 안녕히 가세요. And the person replies you, 안녕히 계세요. 안녕히 계세요. It means you're staying. It means I wish you to stay well there, something like that. So it means goodbye. But for the person who stays, yeah. So you're staying. You're here in, for example, the library, and you say 안녕히 가세요, and the person tells you 안녕히 계세요. 안녕히 계세요. So this is such a variant of the dialogue and the roles. For example, 오, 안녕하세요. 네, 안녕하세요. 이름이 무엇입니까? 저는 마리아입니다. 만나서 반갑습니다. 저도 반갑습니다. 안녕히 가세요. 네, 안녕히 계세요. Such an example. So you can practice with your Korean friends, or you can also practice with even yourself. It's okay. You're okay. It's okay for you. It's necessary sometimes to practice to train your pronunciation in this case, because if this is like phrases and training in your mind, this is the one way. But when you begin make your speech, even me, if I make a sentence in English, it's okay, it's right, it's correct. But when I begin my speech, there is something like mind games, and I forget everything what I would like to say even now. So when you say this in Korean, there is the same situation. So you have to practice more. You have to make your Korean friends, or you have to practice with your Korean friends if you have them. If there is no Korean friends, don't be upset. You'll make them. There are a lot of apps, so you can find there your Korean friends, or even Korean friends might meet you. So let's practice more. I'll practice my English, you'll practice your Korean. Lots, phrases, new phrases, lots of rules. You have to practice more in order to make your pronunciation better, and in order to get in mind all these reading rules. There are a lot of them, so you have to know them, and you have to use them while you're reading some text or something else. I wish you good luck with these basic reading rules, and see you the next lesson. Bye bye.